right, welcome back to the 7th grade Mustache podcast. Today we are talking about the erasure of civics and the study of history in American public school curriculums.
We were just talking about the death of the civics class and the death of, I have a daughter that I went to parent-teacher conference with, and I'm sitting here noticing that she has no social studies, there's no world history, there's no civics, there's nothing to teach you how to be an American or be able to participate in the American process anymore. They don't want you being part of the government.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want you to be able to decipher what's going on.
Mm-hmm. They
don't want you to understand the Constitution. So when you sit here and you look at your daughter's grades, she has good grades, she has reading. They don't even do handwriting anymore. They don't write cursive. Computer programming. A lot of these things are designed to for them to be able to work in this society and get a job, but not be part of what runs this society, not be part of the governing factor. They do not want to make another president. You know what I'm saying? They want to pick and choose who's president years ago. But with your child, I'm like, damn, ain't no social studies. So how's she going to know how a society works? Or I remember I'm just a bill. Schoolhouse Rock.
Yeah,
we
don't cartoons teach us.
We don't even have the cartoons that teach you about the Constitution anymore. We had cartoons that said, I'm just a bill, and this is how the Senate, and this is how I work. I'm presented in front of the House, and I work my way up. We don't have those anymore because they don't want you to participate in government. They want you to be governed, but not be government. And that's like I said, we just listened to Snowden talk about how the private sector is supposed to be private and government shouldn't have any access to us, but we should have access to everything that goes on in government.
So what we're seeing is the formation or the hardening of a caste system where there's a government class.
Wow. Yes.
And the peasants. And this is feudalism. This is feudalism come back because...
Financial feudalism.
Financial feudalism because with people being in the red regarding their credit, and underwater in a lot of their mortgage situations, beholden to these banks, right? And the gap between the poor and the rich is growing wider and wider, faster at a faster rate. But you compound that with a changing of the power structure where...
And erasing of the middle class.
And erasing of the middle class. And you create this caste system where there's people who just stay in government forever and people who aren't allowed to cross that threshold unless they belong to some secret group. They know the secret handshake and they fucked a goat somewhere along the line and they're compromised somehow.
Well, here's the issue. Like, look, I'm not a Donald Trump fan, so please don't misunderstand what I'm saying, but everybody talks about Donald Trump. He's not qualified to be president. Let me explain something to you. There's no job on earth that will qualify you to be the president of the United States, number one. Number two, but the fact that meathead ran and won. Everybody walking this country should feel inspired to run for president. Everybody. Now, here's my problem with the Democratic Party. You got like 17 candidates right now. That's embarrassing. But what I'm saying is that any individual that's walking that has a problem with Donald Trump being president should go for that job.
But the whole reason that you and I have a grasp of that paradigm is because
library class, because of social studies.
We were taught these things early. We learned about the different layers of government and the levels of government.
Same elementary school, and we were, first things first, don't forget about your father. Let's not leave out your father. We were taught stuff at home too. That's another thing that's not being done. You got too many people who don't teach their kid. The only teacher they got is the one at school. No, your first teacher is your parents.
That's right.
And if your parents aren't your teachers, you got a serious problem too.
Correct.
But what I'm saying is we learned a lot of that stuff in library class. We learned all these different things, and we can apply them now. You know, if one of us wanted to run for public office, we could do it. And the thing is, that's another problem with politicians, with politics being the way it is that when you first get in, it's just like your first album. Your first album was great. Your sophomore album sucks. Politics is the same way. Your first go at it is great. The second time around, you suck because it becomes your job. And once something becomes your job, your only job is your job or your career or your emphasis is keeping that job. So when you got politicians trying to keep their job and not take care of the people, because that's what the job is supposed to be, taking care of the people, governing the people fairly and being part of that. That's not the case anymore. Their job is to get reelected. That's fucked up. When your job is to get reelected, if your job is just to make music but not make good music, yeah, that's why we got a couple sophomore slumps, my nigga. And so what's going on is that they don't want our kids to be able to rule. They don't want our kids to be able to take part in government.
Right. So this chunk that's been taken out of the curriculum is being sandwiched into a small corner of the school where it's what would I say?
You were saying clubs
in clubs, and then also in honors classes. So these things it'd be like a privilege to take these courses.
Yes.
That's what I'm trying to communicate here. That they're trying to hide it in plain sight.
Hide the information from people.
Correct. So it's like, oh well, you don't want to worry about that. Focus on football, and you like sports, right? Don't worry about government and the system that controls it. You don't need to learn about that kind of stuff. Let's dumb this down and make it real simple for you guys. We'll take away cursive so that you're not using these faculties of your brain that allow for critical thinking and observation.
Look, the idea is obvious. You hear about the dumbing down of America. And of course, we attribute it to television and social media. But when you realize that it was done in, again, education system, like I told you, the two biggest pillars of racism, education, and the judicial system. When you realize that it's being done in the judicial system, where a cop tells you, how many times have you been pulled over by a cop and the cop don't know the law? I'm gonna give you a prime example. I am a gun owner. I carry guns. I carry. And you must understand I'm black if you hadn't noticed already. And so I had a situation where I've been pulled over several times. But one of the times, a friend of mine had got in trouble with a gun, and I had my gun on me. So I got 7 officers. My homeboy calls me. He said, I just got robbed. I said, hey, I'm on the way. We were actually going to the shooting range. And so I get there, and I'm telling the cops, hey, I got a call. My homeboy called me. What's going on? And so I said, look, I need to let you know I have a concealed carry. In my state, you're supposed to if you're there, if the police are there for an official police business, and you're part of it, you're supposed to let them know that you have it. And I let the cops know, and all of them were cool, except for the one blonde one, the young guy. Is it registered? No, it's not registered. Well, why not? I'm like, well, according to the law, the Attorney General of the state said that if I have a concealed carry, I don't need to register my gun. I'm a law-abiding citizen. And the other cops go like, yeah, he doesn't have to register his gun.
Shut up, pipe down.
Yeah, but you're laughing. That could have got ugly really quick because how does a cop not know the law?
Right.
You're supposed to enforce it. So that tells you when they break the law, sometimes they don't realize they're breaking the law. And other times they're breaking the law on purpose. Again, another time it happened to me. I got stopped. I get stopped. All of a sudden, all these cops show up. And so I'm like, hey, I got my weapon on me. I got a couple weapons on me. I explained to him. Cop goes, is it registered? Like, no, it's not. Well, why not? you need to register your gun. Like, no, I don't. I have a concealed carry. Like, is that true? He turns to the other officer and says, is that true? Again,
You're a peace officer.
How do you not know?
It's your job to enforce ordinances, local ordinances. So you are supposed to know these things.
So let me bring it back to what this is about. So we're talking about the death of the civics class. So when you're in school, you're taught about laws, law enforcement. You're taught these things. And so that means this guy doesn't even know what's going on in his area. But back in the day, we would have learned some of that stuff in school. We would have learned that about guns a little bit. Now, I get it. In this society, we don't want to talk about guns. I perfectly understand that because it's one of those hot button topics, and it's a political football.
Yes,
all kinds of shit
but
like that.
Is that because they want it to be that?
But that's because they don't want you to understand what your rights really are. So they take out the classes that teach you your rights. They want you to be a good citizen and not talk about the police. They want police to be able to come in your house and do things that are not right. They don't want to teach you about warrants. I'm gonna give another prime example that happens in the Black Hood, where I'm from. I don't know if it happens everywhere, so I'm trying to be honest. I don't want to embellish shit. I'm not that guy, but there's a difference between an arrest warrant and a search warrant, and black folks don't know this. So at the end of the month, police go around and they'll take these arrest warrants and go to the house, like where you stay, like, hey, I got an arrest warrant for such and such. An arrest warrant does not give them the right to come in your house. Arrest warrant is usually a bench warrant or a court order warrant where you're supposed to be arrested. So that's not a search warrant. Now when they have a search warrant, they're gonna knock on the door, search warrant, and come in. And if they find who they're looking for, or they find what they're looking for, you go to jail. But when they knock on your door and say, I got an arrest warrant for such and such, you know what you're supposed to say? Hey, thank you. If I see that motherfucker, I'll tell him to turn himself in. Have a good day. No. You try that, these cops say, hey, let me come in and look. Like, no. I have
an arrest warrant. You don't have a search warrant.
Yes.
There is a difference.
People do not know the difference. And so that's what they're removing from schools. Your ability to govern and take care of yourself. Your ability to not yield to tyranny. Look, it is legal. In Illinois, they passed a law a few years back. It's legal to shoot cops that come on your property for illegal purposes. It's pretty much everywhere. That's what the Second Amendment is for. And then you have people saying, well, the Second Amendment needs to be changed because they didn't have automatic weapons back then. The Supreme Court ruled on that. Dummy. Y'all keep black folks keep toting the line for Democrats. Well, you shouldn't have automatic weapons. You didn't read a book. You're saying that because you hear them say it on TV, so you're reciting it. So if somebody like poop in your mouth, would you spit it out or you gonna swallow it? Stop swallowing shit. Because what it is that you believe this bullcrap. What they're telling you is, how do you have the First Amendment, freedom of speech and all that? How do you have freedom of religion? How do you have freedom of all these other things? Freedom of without the Second Amendment to enforce it. Without the Second Amendment, you cannot keep. I got freedom of speech. I'm telling you, the government's bad. What's going to stop the government from kicking my ass, arresting me? It's the Second Amendment. So when they come on my property and say, hey, you shouldn't say that, I shoot them and they don't bother me no more. It works like that. All the black folks in the Deep South during lynchings, during Reconstruction, during all these things, people hear this. I can't prove it. I can't find any more articles on it, but I read an article back in the day about how the NRA helped black folks, armed black folks against the Klan. Now, people say it's a different organization now, whatever. I don't know what's true or not, but that's what I read a long time ago. I need to find the articles and substantiate that. But what you got to understand, in Condoleezza Rice's book, when she talks about her grandfather being a preacher, or her father being a preacher, I guess she was in Alabama, and the Klan, what did they do? They got their guns, and they parked trucks at both ends of the town, and they did not let the Klan in. When you hear about the Black Panther Party and the Black Panthers, there are two Black Panthers. There's a Black Panther Party out of Oakland, and then the Black Panthers were the ones that marched. The Deacons for the Events are the ones that marched with King. See, what y'all don't get, these white folks didn't shoot King was because he had armed guards in front of him, and they had grease guns, and they had semi-auto and fully automatic guns. That's what you don't know about. When them people came back from Nam and stuff, them brothers was real. And so what you got to understand is that when you got black folks saying that, well, they didn't mean for you to have a semi-automatic weapon. Yes, the Supreme Court already ruled on that we should have whatever weapons the military has. We should be able to have whatever weapons law enforcement has, because those are the ones who are going to take your rights. They're talking about a gun grab right now, and you got guys like Beto O'Rourke. His name is Robert. He is not Hispanic. His name is Robert O'Rourke. He wants to, yes.
It's an anagram of sliced up the name Robert.
Yeah. But he has people think his name is Roberto. Yes, he's Caucasian. And so what the deal is with that is that he's talking about doing gun grabs, and people voluntarily turn their guns in. Why would I voluntarily turn my gun in? We fought for that. People are so dumb, they're begging for socialism. And that's what happens when you don't read, when you don't have these classes.
This starts early.
Yes. When people don't explain to you what socialism is, when people don't explain to you mediocrity. Socialism is a drug that makes you comfortable with being mediocre.
Yeah.
When the government decides how much you're worth and they pay you based on that, and we all get paid the same amount. Funny thing is, but you complain about how bad the teachers are. You complain about how bad the cops are. But that's socialism, is it not? So if socialism doesn't work in small bits, why would it work in big bits? What it is that people are lazy and scared and don't want to compete, and they want to be rewarded for being dumb. Well, that guy should make what I make. Look, I'm union. I fight for wages all the time. I fight for wages, and I force the company to raise wages and things like that. And I do admit that some people ain't worthy, but I don't give a damn because they got seniority, and I made it happen. See, I was dealing with in my union guys, I was dealing with one of our representatives from D.C. who actually, we give them money, they fight, blah, blah, Congress and all this other stuff. He actually petitions Congress. And so I was talking to him, and we're in Vegas, we're drinking, and I said, hey, you might not have noticed this. I don't want to tell you a secret, but I'm black. Now, I know you didn't notice that, but you got to understand the problem with black people and slavery, and we think it's a moral issue. We want people to treat us fair. But when did the government and white people stop doing slavery? When they made it illegal. You have to make something illegal because even if it's immoral, it could be legal. And so what happened is that slavery was a business decision. Either you pay somebody once or you pay for them forever. Who wouldn't take that choice? But you got to understand, to do that, you got to dehumanize me and my people. So what I'm saying is that it's the same way with corporate America now. It hasn't changed. They would treat us like slaves, not pay us if we didn't make them.
Correct.
So every time we do a contract is a binding law. So the only way to make a corporation treat you fairly is to have a contract and make it a law. So before slavery became illegal, they kept doing it. And then, of course, that's the other problem, is that when somebody's doing something illegal, that they should be held accountable. But instead, what they're doing now is they're making the illegal behaviors legal. And that's what these companies do when they go to court and they pass these laws and they petition this shit. So that's the problem when you take civics out of school, when you take fucking social studies out of school and the kids don't know how it's supposed to work. They fall for all this bullshit and they think it's okay. You gave me some Jordans, I'm cool. Hey,
but what winds up happening is these privileged kids who've been belonging into these private clubs or these
who's been catered to already,
given catered to, but also like they're in these classes that how can I say this? They're the chosen ones.
They're being molded to be
right.
government.
So what they wind up becoming is these quote unquote future leaders of the people, and because they're in their own little group, like a subcaste, and so now these people are the ones that the dumb people go to get their information from. When they don't need these fuckers, they don't need a middleman. It's just another middleman, and it's creating another middleman.
I remember a story I heard one time when they were talking about this. Is I guess the country was about 50 years old, and some diplomat was from overseas, was visiting, checking out the country and looking at it and stuff. And he had talked to a guy like in New York City, but then he talks to some farmer, and at the time, I guess, I don't know if in Louisiana, before that, some farmer someplace, and they had the same conversation. What that meant was that farmer was just as intelligent as that guy in the big city, and he understood his place. Like, look, I wanted to be a farmer. I'm not a farmer because I was failed at something else, and that was always my problem with the whole military thing, or the whole teacher thing. That's my problem with socialism. How many of these people get college degrees and they weren't successful? So fuck it, I'll be a teacher. I got a teacher certificate. I can't do finance. I got a degree in science, but I can't be a scientist. I'll be a teacher. Those who can do, those who can't teach. That is a fucked up thing to say, but that's what you gotta look at.
That's true.
And so that's the same thing with the military. These kids will graduate from high school, couldn't find a job, but I'll go to the military. So that's when they start about that, our bottom 5%. What they're saying is that when you fail at something else, you got this socialism shit sitting here where you can just jump in, make decent money, support yourself, and maybe grow up along the way. And if we're lucky, you grow up along the way, you might become something. That is not fucking cool. That is a problem. And what nobody wants to admit is that by removing these classes, again, like you said, or what you call it, feudalism?
Modern day feudalism.
That shit is what's going on, because what you're doing is, hey, you're a future leader. I dig you. I like the cut of your jib. I like your hair. And because you cut your hair a certain way, you'll get an opportunity that I don't. I let my hair grow out in the afro. That's my halo. Don't stop my halo. Okay, I'm an angel. I'm divine.
Think about the things that divided like students in school, in junior high and high school, like in your own personal experience.
You mean social classes like that?
But hang on a second. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about like things that are based on rights. And what I'm saying is that like our revolutionary spirit that was already inside of us was galvanized by the classes that taught us more about our rights, of how we can move within our rights to be more effective.
Yes.
And they are still with me to this day, you know. And it creates an atmosphere for a broader conversation on what freedom really is.
Oh, well, that's deep. Say it again. We don't, as black people, I'm a black person.
It creates a broader conversation on what freedom really is.
We don't know what freedom is anymore, so we allow ourselves to be captured and held in captivity. White folks either. Americans don't recognize freedom. So when you got somebody saying, let me ask you a question, why do you need a semi-automatic? Why do you need an AR? Why do I need a car that does 150 miles an hour? It's freedom. Now, if I don't get caught by the police, I'm good.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying that you're supposed to shoot people or drive fast, but I'm saying that I got a BMW M5 at the house. We talked about, I love doing 120 miles an hour. You feel free. And that's the whole thing, is that we give up our freedom so much because we think it's going to keep us safe. And that's some bull jive, dude. That is not true. Giving up your freedom doesn't make you safe. But also, we don't want to defend ourselves anymore. That's another thing. Since we don't want to fight, we don't want to put up a fight, we give up our ability to defend ourselves. That's not cool either. And that's where the problem lies, is because we don't know we can defend ourselves. We don't know how to fight. And when I'm talking about fighting, I'm not just mean physical fighting. I don't just mean taking up a gun. I'm saying we don't know how to go to the courthouse, petition them. We don't know how to turn in cops. We don't know how to oversight committees. We don't know where to go if we got a problem with somebody. We don't know how to get somebody out of office. That ain't right. We hear this word impeach all the time. What does that really entail?
And how do you learn this? Where did you learn this at?
Yeah, because
these concepts, these ideas.
Grade school, at Fondell Elementary School, where me and you went. We learned that stuff back then. And it seemed like it was excessive, but now that I'm looking back, it's not excessive. It's not enough. It's just the opposite. We need more of that. And by them taking the civics class out of school, by them taking history class and government classes and all those things out, we fall for it. And again, that also goes to, self-confidence and self-esteem too, because I couldn't possibly do that. I can't run for office.
But let's meditate
I can't stop
for a
that
second
machine.
on what is the argument for taking this out? What is their defense? Like, what kind of bullshit could you come up with to say
this is okay?
Yeah, this is okay. Like, how do you reason that? How do you say, oh, well, the kids aren't paying attention anyway?
Yes, you hear? Wow, that's deep. I heard that a lot.
They're not paying. Well, wait, no. Dude, are they not really? Because I can think of plenty of classes that people thought I was not paying attention to and I could go back to that day in time and tell you what the class was about and what the teacher was wearing.
Let me explain something to you. First things first. People keep saying the kids are different. The kids are different. Kids aren't different.
They're not.
The parents are different, because you don't have parents. Like I said, your first teacher is your parent, and when you don't have a parent being a teacher, you're gonna have a serious problem. So when these kids get to school right now, do you know they don't send homework home because the kids weren't doing it? So they give them a study hall at school where they gotta do all their homework at school. So I'm asking my daughter, hey, where's your homework? Oh no, we don't get homework no more. So I'm like, yeah, right. So I march up there. I march up to Monroe. Hey, what's going on? She ain't got no homework. Oh no, we don't send homework home because the kids weren't doing it. Parents weren't making them do it. So we didn't want them to fail. So
this is all of OPS. Wow.
As I was saying, dude, I came from OPS public schools. We had private schools up here, and when I got to college, I had a lot of kids that were from private schools. I was smarter than them. Now, so I came back. So for years, I said OPS was good. I said my school system was good. Fast forward 10 years, woo. Yeah, bruh. And so the reason they take it out is because I get it. There's a big political thing where you don't want any competition. You're eliminating your competition before it's planted. I get that, but also these kids don't mind. You got kids with ADHD. I got it. You got kids with all these different disorders, and you got parents who don't want to discipline them. And so
but you're weakening the rigor. You're basically breaking down
society.
But in particular, the part of the curriculum that allows for extensive study and research outside the classroom on your own independently, that pushes discipline further. That enhances discipline by doing your homework.
Look, I dated a teacher once, and do you know how many times these parents are coming up here cussing out the teacher because the kid don't know how to act, or the kid don't know my kid got a D. Why my kid get a D? I'm like, don't you know? I remember your dad helping you with your homework. Yeah. My mom helped me with my homework. My math was all wrong, but the fact was she was engaging. Yeah. I couldn't spell, so she beat my ass till I learned how to spell.
Right.
And so, right there, and that's another thing. When people try to tell you that, oh, my parents didn't know this. We talk about Ben Carson. People don't like Ben Carson. I get it. But look, if you ever read one of Ben Carson's books, his mother was illiterate, but she made him read. The guy did brain surgery. He was the first to do the hemispherectomy. You have people doing his surgery right now because of him. So don't say that. I get it. Ben Carson's a conservative. We don't like Republicans. They're bad. Whatever. But until you read one of his books, you'll understand. His mom could not read, so she made him read to her. So he's thinking his mom gets in it. She don't know. But what that proves is that a parent does not have to be intelligent to raise a child correctly. No. And that's the whole thing, is that we look for our children look for shortcomings in their parents, and they exploit it, and parents feel guilty. Stop feeling guilty, you dumbass, because you're robbing your child. So now they get to school, they talk to teachers any kind of way. They fail, parent comes up and cusses the teacher out. Man, why the fuck don't my son know nothing? Shit, he's your son.
Because you're a shitty parent.
Yeah, he has your DNA. He don't have mine.
Yeah, shitty parent.
And so like I said, there's two reasons for taking these things. What you're asking me, this is my personal opinion. I cannot prove this, but I'm saying that one reason is to stop you from becoming part of the government, stop you from running against these different people that they select for us.
You in your cast.
In your place. Second is because it's easier for teachers, and that goes back to the whole socialism problem. Because we had some crazy teachers growing up. I still remember the Rocket one. And like I said, I don't want to say her name. I know her name.
Yeah, I mean, there's a million of them.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, you never know.
She was great. I liked her.
Yeah, somebody who actually made us into something.
Yes.
Told us right from wrong. Told us that, hey, look, we're going to do a calendar. Like, what's it? We as students made a calendar. We got recipes from celebrities. They sent us their favorite recipes. Hey, I had Burt Reynolds, my nigga. Burt Reynolds sent me a recipe. And so that made us look that celebrities weren't better than us, but it also let us know that we could be celebrities. She also taught us that we can be part of the government, that kind of thing. And right now, the way it works in our society, so people are celebrities before they do anything of extraordinary. All you gotta do to be a celebrity is for somebody to stick a microphone in your face, or have a podcast, or people chase you down, or you Kim Kardashian, you do a porn and it blows up. Now, people don't understand that people are celebrity for bad shit now. They don't have to have talent to be famous. Everybody wants to be discovered. We think our lives are a reality show, and they think that somebody's gonna pick us for government. Hey, you would make a good president. I would. That's not how it works.
When you take all these things and you look at them at a long view, like the long term in the future, you see a society that is split up into different groups, and you have a poor, illiterate class that is not engaged in anything related to local or federal government.
Yes, that's deep. That's
right.
Sad.
And then you have the group at the top just controlling everything to get away with all these wicked scandals and corruption, and it will continue in some way. But
and making a lot of money in the process.
If we allow it to go that route, that is where we're headed, in my opinion.
First things first, you got to raise your children. That's the first thing, how to fix that. But there's some other things that you got to take into mind, like for instance, let's think. Money is, I don't want to say it incorrectly. People are worshiping money and things like that way more now than they ever have, and people dangle this carrot in front of you. And you know, when you remove the middle class, when you don't have people that can raise their children, provide for their children, teach them right from wrong, and put them in these positions, then you have to let the school raise them. These single parent households don't help, because it's hard for a person to be a parent and work 2 or 3 jobs to support the family. So the school's stuck raising them, and the school is going to raise you to be timid. One of my kids got in a fight. I go to the school. They told her to curl up in a ball in a fetal position, get kicked. I'm like, no, that's my child. She said, well, they're going to kick me out of school. I said, that's fine. I'll put you in private school. If somebody touches you, you whoop their ass. You know, what they're doing is they don't want us to fight. But
it's pussification of society.
But not only that, is that you're fighting is a negative word now, when fighting is how America was founded. And don't get me wrong, we killed a lot of Native Americans. We killed a lot of the other people. Yeah, I was around. But the fact is this, is that I remember it was like a CIA class, FBI class, and I saw this shit online where a dude snuck a camera in. And they were filming, and they were showing the founding fathers. Which one's a terrorist? The founding fathers were terrorists. The founding fathers kicked ass. The founding fathers overthrew the British government.
And that relates directly to history, because by taking out civics, yes,
by not knowing
also taking out world history out of the schools as well, which is part of this change in curriculum, you are tampering with the timeline. All right, you really are. By doing that, you are fooling with the future and the public's perception of itself, self-pride, identity, national identity, and the truth about the history of the world. I mean, that's the history of human civilization. And if that only becomes a paragraph in some book or some some curriculum that's on a whiteboard or on a tablet in a kid's program, that is manipulation. That is direct manipulation, and that is control. That is dumbing down. That is the same thing as Fahrenheit 451. That's basically that's book burning. That's book burning on a digital level.
Look, I had teachers that would have quit if they, growing up, we had teachers that would have quit if you told them to take history out of grade school. If you had told them to take civics out of junior high. If you had told them to take social studies out of grade school, they would have quit their job. And so that's what this is about. What people aren't getting is that there's no account. Nobody wants to be held accountable. Nobody's going to say this is wrong. But they're more worried about just having a job. And that's what the reason I brought up socialism is because in this society is ripe for socialism. It's ready for it. It's ready for mediocrity. It's ready for. I just want to be able to jerk off to internet porn and do what I want to do and make good money and not have to work for it.
I'm not going to shoot for anything.
Nope.
I'm not going to aim for any goals that are high lofted and grandiose. Not at all.
Look, the bottom line is what you pointed out earlier, is that it's not just a dumbing down of society, because we're not making society dumber. We're taking away their ability to even participate. They don't even know they're missing something. When people let's talk about diet. When somebody's eating something and they don't realize that, hey, I need more potassium, so they don't even eat the bananas. And all of a sudden, their heart stops. They got a heart attack because they ain't got enough potassium. Then they realize, oh, hey, I need this.
When it's almost too late.
It's too late. That's how it is now. It's going to be way too late before these people wake up and recognize what's going on and how it's being done, and that it's even being done to them. And when you got parents that are dumb, because it don't take much to be a parent. Hell, I say there should be like a chastity belt with like a Rubik's Cube on the front. And if you can't work that cube, you shouldn't be able to have sex, because we don't have any kind of thing stopping people from procreating. They're dumb. They love to have sex. They love to make kids, but nobody wants to raise them.
Right.
And that's the thing. Nobody wants to be held accountable. Teachers who don't teach properly should be held accountable. Parents who don't raise properly, hey man, the other parents should get on their case. You know what? That's not a good idea to let your kid do that.
But see, this is creating a dangerous environment, because as we saw during the 2008 presidency of George Bush, you can lie to the people and get away with it. Every week he would get on TV and tell a lie that would contradict what he said the week before. It was amazing. And the reason why they got away with it is because the public has short attention span.
Well, it's something else.
Wait a minute. Hold on. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because if you couple that with the manipulation of history further than it is, and taking it out of the history books, out of the school books.
That's deep.
You have a serious problem, because then we have no reference point.
If you don't know it's been done to you before, you have no reference point. That is
right.
Exactly. That I was going to say it earlier, but you beat me to it. Very good. But what I was going to say about Bush, when he got elected the second time, I just couldn't believe that people voted for him. But when they interviewed all these young white people, they all said the same thing. Was they were afraid of terrorists. And I'm sitting there like, are you serious? And my point to this is, it takes two people to lie. But it's a lot easier to lie when somebody wants to believe it. When somebody wants something, they'll believe it. That's what's going on with the Trump situation. All these white people telling you, he's a good businessman. No, he's not. Oh, he's going to get the country, he's going to drain the swamp. I don't know about that. He's known for corruption. He's known for doing all these things. And then, but all at the same time, black folks focus on dumb stuff. You get a lot of black people sitting there saying stuff like, okay, I want to see his tax returns. Do you know why he doesn't want to show his tax returns? It's not because you're going to find some crazy amount of fraud. What you're going to find out is he's cash poor. He ain't got no damn real money. He ain't got no $7 billion. It's all tied up. So when you see that, that's what's going to happen, is that you're going to find out that he's a liar, which you already knew he was a liar. You know what I'm saying? When you going to find out something you knew already? What's the big damn deal? So that's what's important about these situations. That second thing is, when people are dumb, they can't even translate the information. That goes.
That is huge.
That goes back to 1984, and why that book is so important. Doublespeak. And how about this? When you take these classes out of school, remember we read 1984. They talked about the machine that's in the house. You have actual Google machines in the house listening to you all the time.
Yes.
The government can listen to you. They don't even have to plant. They don't even have to plant listening devices in your house. Your cell phone and your assistant will tell them everything.
Amazon has a large account with the government. They have a cloud account with the government where they transfer all the information.
In 10 miles, take exit 446 toward I-680
Turn that
north.
shit off, dog.
The whole thing is this: what you're saying, what people don't, people aren't dumb in the sense that they can't comprehend or they can't learn. They're dumb in that it hasn't been presented to them, and since it hasn't been presented to them, they say it don't matter. I don't need to know this. It's not important. You know, Kim Kardashian didn't talk about that. They're not tweeting about that. It's not on Facebook. My Instagram, I'm showing the world that I'm rich. I feel good. You're broke. You're broke mentally and you're physically. You're broke emotionally. You're broke in several different ways. But going back to what you're saying about the government, we can't even put up a decent fight. And when they sit here, like I said, if you in that book 1984, it showed you how the government can take over without having to use force. It showed you how the government can control your thoughts. I mean, just the potential when you're afraid, when you don't have the Second Amendment, when you're afraid the government might bust in the door and kick your ass or take whatever you got, you fear that. You know, I remember remember when the old black guy, they took his land. And they said manifest destiny. They were talking about that stuff that's supposed to be used for interstates and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. He was an old vet. He said, I believe in it. If this was for a road or interstate, but they're taking my house and my property to put up a shopping mall. Man, look, that brother took up arms because you're supposed to. You are supposed to. And what it is you don't know what you're supposed to be offended by, or you don't know what's offensive, or you don't know what's right and wrong. You just sit here and take it. You're like, oh, whatever. That's above my head. I don't get it. And like I said, and then they pacify you with social media, make you think you're a celebrity. You're posting that you're at the mall right now, and you broke as hell.
That is a dopamine fix.
Exactly.
It hits a trigger in the brain that needs that dopamine fix to feel good.
Celebrity is a drug.
Yes.
And you hooked on it. And since you're hooked on that drug, and you're like you just said, people aren't thinking about these things, and they're not being held accountable for their stupidity. And here's another thing: when stupidity is not painful, you will not learn from it. You understand? When you're not caring about I messed up and it doesn't hurt. And me and my brother right here, we talked about weed earlier. We're not talking about weed in that sense. We're talking about when people mess up and then they say you messed up at work. You go home and smoke some weed, you take the edge off. But then you mess up again in life, you go home and smoke some weed. At some point in time, you're not feeling the results of your bad decision making. And you become okay with mediocrity. You become okay with a lot of this other stuff. And that is not cool. And when I say not cool, I say it's wrong, because how are you going to learn from your mistakes if there's no consequences for your mistakes? How are you going to recognize that, you know what, the government is taking over and they're doing me wrong, but don't worry, I'll go smoke a joint. Oh, don't worry, I just ordered some shit on TV. I got some shit coming in eBay, I'm fine. That is a quick fix. I just posted my new hairdo on Instagram. I just posted
complacency.
Yes. You become okay with mediocrity. You become okay with not being successful, but you feel successful. Barack made everybody feel good, but he didn't make us better. Now, some things he did. People made a lot of money in Barack, but it wasn't black folks. Jay-Z made a lot of money in Barack, but the rest of us didn't. So what you got to understand is that that's part of this. That's the part of your knowledge base is missing when you can't take part in government and recognize that you can change things. That's been the whole issue, is that nobody can recognize that you can change things, or that you have the ability or strength or power to alter things, or you could improve it. It doesn't have to be improved for you. You want somebody to save you. No, I don't want Spider-Man to save me. I want to get bit by a spider and be stronger. Got a funny story about that too. And so, with that being said, is that when you take these things out of school, you take away the threat of anybody rising up, and you pick a certain type. You pick a master race, or you pick people with certain personality traits, because you could also recognize the greed in them. If you pick greedy people, then you know that they can be easily manipulated. That's something else that whenever I'm in these like meetings and stuff, they slick side what you talked about earlier with the boule. They try to court you. They dangle stuff in front of you, or they want to go out drinking with you. Like I don't go out with people from work. Why not? Come on, go tie one on. I really don't drink. I'm cool. Well, come on, you can kick with us. No, no. They want something on you. And that's why I said that book 1984 was so important, is because it showed you how government can manipulate you without having a Gestapo, without sending the police to your door. And then you become used to it, and then you'll tell on your own family. You tell on your own people. And you sit here and then you submit to things like having listening devices in your house. Say, because I'm a good citizen. Or I sit there and I have the GPS on my phone where everybody knows where I am. The government doesn't have to track you. All they gotta do is check your Facebook, and they know where the hell you at. They know what the hell you.
So Facebook,
big deal with Facebook right now. It's the biggest drug you got going. It's twofold. The government has the ability to track you. It doesn't even have to. It doesn't even have to like go in your files, hack your phone or anything. It can see what you're looking at, can see your search engine. And on top of that, it's a drug. We're addicted, so we actually tell on ourselves.
You're addicted to the thing that's telling on you.
Yeah, people are dry snitching. You know what I'm saying? They're snitching on themselves. And even what's even worse than that, a conversation that we had off the air. I was doing something else, and I'm talking to a guy, and he said his son's best friend is an investor, and he's saying that it's only like 4 or 5. The market's really in trouble. There's only 4 or 5 companies that are doing really well, and they're not doing well. It's the fact that the government owns a big portion. I said, what do you mean? He talks about Facebook. He talks about Google. He talks about what's another one he talks about, where he's saying that the deal is that the government owns over 51% of the stock in the company. So that means the government owns the company. It may not own it outright, but it owns a very large portion. So if the government owns a large portion of the company, first things first is artificially keep hiking the market up. It's artificially, raising the stock price because people are buying it. Last but not least, that means the government has access to those files, all those searches, what you're posting about, big dicks, whatever, or what you're posting about government, or what you're posting about, black power, or what you're posting about these different things.
Bum fights.
Yes, they have the ability, without even having to subpoena anyone, or without having to get a warrant, because if the government owns stock in that company, that means the government part owner in the company, they have the ability to look at things that company owns. So, again, you're telling on yourself. And you think that you're just being a good citizen, a good consumer, and the fact is you're telling on yourself. So if you ever were to make a mistake, the government can use that as leverage against you. It doesn't even when they talk about the CIA and talk about human assets, they talk about the FBI having agents, it doesn't even need them. You're telling on yourself. So you got to be careful about these things like Facebook. You got to be careful. It's a good way to learn about stuff. It's a good way to find a good restaurant, but it's also a good way to give up more of your rights without a warrant. Without them doing, don't get me wrong, because of Snowden, we know that the government was doing illegal stuff already.
But see, what's happening though is this Chinese communist style silent pressuring that's happening from these companies. And these companies saying, well, you can't talk about this on our platforms. And they're right when they say it's a company and it's not a utility and freedom of expression does not really apply in this circumstance. Okay, fine. But you have to draw the line somewhere. And you can draw the line by saying, I'm not going to participate in this platform and use it at all.
Yeah, we can say that, but like I said, right now, people are already addicted to it. And the other thing is people don't realize that it's bad for them.
Hey man, just say no. That's what Nancy said.
Yeah. But funny how them addictions work, huh? Look, when it comes to this celebrity thing, like you said, without the history to put things in perspective, it doesn't even make sense. You can't see that it's ruining your life. You can't see that it's making you alienate your kids. You can't see that you're putting your business out there and that there's no more privacy. The idea that there's no private life anymore. Like, since you can't figure something out, I'm telling Facebook, my husband is doing this. Well, look, I've always thought it was the worst thing about these reality shows, especially with like Don and Kate plus 8 and whatever that bullshit is. I always thought it was terrible that they're cheating on each other. But in the past, if you cheated on your wife or your wife cheated on you, you guys could work that shit out privately. The kids didn't need to know. But now you're hashing your shit out in front of everybody.
The whole world, and everybody
and
is seeing what you're doing.
What do you suppose is going to happen when your kids get to high school and people are bagging on them like, hey man, was your husband fucking the cleaning bitch? Or, man, dude, your mom was sucking some Asian dick. You know, that kind of stuff. There's no privacy. There's no ability to fix anything. You don't have the chance to like get over something or, hey, I made a mistake, I'm sorry. No, instead, and that's another thing that I feel about society right now is that everybody's gangster. So instead of you just saying, hey, I'm sorry, I messed up, it's like, nah, bitch, we going there with it. And they take shit way too far.
But what I see is, with the changing of this curriculum, is that by controlling the access to history, you control the direction of the greater narrative.
Yes. You control the way that river flows, but you also control how these people feel about things too. And that's a big problem. But especially when it comes back to, like, for instance, oh, you shouldn't feel that way about this, and you guilt people who feel a certain way, like, oh, you know what, I don't know if I like, you know, that gay thing being around my kids this early. What? You're a homophobe. First things first. Phobia means fear. I'm not fearing somebody that's gay. What I'm saying is I don't feel comfortable presenting these type of things too early in life to a child who doesn't understand sex or sexuality. Second, you know, that's about the guilt. So you're a homophobic. No, I'm not. And besides, I dislike a lot of people. But because of that term, they put phobia on there as if you fear the gay person or you fear that your own homosexuality. Yeah, that's how they get you confused. And so when you don't have civics, when you don't have something to put it in perspective, when you don't have something to show you like, hey, this is what happened in history when this happened before, or when you don't have the ability, like, hey, you know what, you got to be careful, you know, that's a slippery slope. They did this there, and that's how it turned out. You know, you're not teaching people how to be adults. You know, remember Frederick Douglass said this: it's easier to raise a strong child than it is to fix a broken man. We don't get that shit. You know, we're raising broken people because therapy is a great business. You understand what I'm saying? We are making people weak on purpose. We're making people dumb on purpose because it's easier. And then you don't oppose the government, and then the government can do whatever they want. Yeah, they're not making you stupid. They're making you pliable. There's a difference. It's not dumbing down. It's making a good humanoid. It's making a good sheeple, a good clone, whatever you want to call them.
The people that are behind this change, this sea change in school curriculums, these are people that come from these think tanks. And these think tanks are created on universities. Now the problem with universities and these think tanks is these are people that are in bubbles, that are separated from reality because they start in incubation as a college freshman and they come onto this place that's separate from home, but it's not the real world either. And it's insulated in a way because their parents can still pay for shit and, like, you know, and provide this like buffer for them. And so what winds up happening is they get around all these people that enable them even further because they're already privileged, and they get more privilege put on top of that.
Yes.
And so what winds up happening is this incubatory atmosphere for these ideas that are disconnected from real ass people who work real ass jobs, and you get this pie in the sky mentality that's just like pushed even further.
But what's worse, they protect it though. You know, if you attempt to bust that bubble, they will go crazy on you. That's when you see these liberals kicking. I'm a feminist, but I'm a man, and I have a mangina, and they kick the girl in the head.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, whoa, wait, what?
Right. But these people don't live in this reality.
No.
They live in an alternate reality. And they think that they can make that, bridge that with this reality and take control of that. And that is what is happening until people start to push back. And it did push back in the instance of the Dave Chappelle comedy special that was on Netflix. And I'm bringing this up to say that pushback does happen. That these people who are supposed to be these quote-unquote tastemakers, these critics, yes, right, are telling us what we should and should not like. Oh, the Dave Chappelle special is terrible and it's not funny. Fuck you. Everybody thought it was funny. Everybody except for you 6 motherfuckers or these butthurt, sensitive ass people.
But see, that's not true. They thought it was funny too. But see, here's
No,
how
a lot of them didn't.
No, check me out. Hear me out. They thought it was funny, but it's their job to say it's not funny. Do you understand? They don't want to lose their job. You must understand that when you got something at stake, then they thought it was funny. But he talked about transsexual. That's bad.
Yeah, but see, this whole ideology comes from the university levels where these think tanks are generated.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I dig what you're saying. I smell what you're cooking. The thing is, those people, they exist on theory and not actual practical.
That's it.
Yes. They
all theory and no action.
And no action. And so, they're all shaft and no balls. they
no
don't
balls, no shaft.
they don't want to take any chances. You know, you got to have balls to do something. But that shaft, hey, this won't hurt me. This won't hurt me.
Point that over there.
Yeah, PayPal. And we're laughing because it's cute, but the truth of the matter is that these people going to school, they become habitual students. And then you got these people.
Stop right there. Stop. We got to parse that some more because you're talking about somebody who is a professional student.
Yes.
I see these people in life.
I know these people.
I know these people, and they don't take any risks. These people like to play it safe.
School is safe.
They play it so safe, and a lot of them are women because women like to be secure. And you know what? You want to disagree with me? That's fine. Not you. I'm talking about whoever hears this. You disagree with me? Cool. You disagree. But that is my view. Women like to be secure. It's psychologically proven.
People, but like I said, in particular, women and black women want to be secure.
Right.
And going to
so
school
I can
safe.
go to university and hide there in plain sight and be safe.
But also, you have the ability to pretend that you're successful. And you haven't really accomplished anything. There's no physical part to it. It says, I got papers, I got certifications, but I haven't been able to apply my knowledge.
And now you're in debt.
Yes.
And now you're in debt, and you're beholden to a system that is exploiting you financially, and has been caught on record doing this.
But that's the biggest thing about America for the longest time is become an industry builder. It builds industries. So when you recognize
education, financial
industry. Well, food industry. If food is not a health industry, it's the food industry. And when you recognize that this industry, all they really want to do is feed you unhealthy food and make you addicted to sugar, and you get more of it. Or one of the deepest things when they talk about cancer, when we got off, most of our food most of our bread was sorghum based. When our grain stopped being sorghum based, we were in trouble, and nobody recognizes that. Yeah, they ain't gonna let me over. I waited too long. My bad. So most of this gluten, all this other stuff causes cancer. White flour causes cancer. They know this. That's because it's more about the cancer industry. Even though milk, people are lactose intolerant, milk ain't good for you, blah, blah, blah. Raw milk is still healthier than this homogenized crap they give you. Thank you. And that's the biggest problem that's going on right now is that we find out the truth and we don't want to accept the truth because the truth ain't cute. The truth ain't popular. The truth don't go on my cereal very well. And so instead of getting the truth and running with it and fixing things, we submit to the lie because the lie is convenient, it's pretty, and it makes me feel a lot better. The lie tastes good, but that's not cool, and that's why it's back to the original point is the death of the civics class. The thing that can teach us or stop us from going down this road, they alleviated it. And this goes back, like I said, we were listening to Snowden interview. If you pay attention, by alleviating the civics class and world history in these different classes, it made people more palatable for the government to take their rights. And the thing was, sometimes we surrender those rights without even having them taken. So when you can't recognize it. That's why I was talking earlier, but you can't miss what you didn't have, or you don't recognize that it's even a problem. And like I said, to call somebody dumb is very dismissive. It's just like when you call somebody crazy. That's dismissive. There's probably more to that behavior than but to call Americans dumb, what it is that we've been weaned on different things, whether it's drugs, whether it's comedy, whether it's entertainment, whether it's television. They got us weaned on these things, and social media is one of them. We like famous people, so now we want to be famous. Man, you can't do it like I do it.
But you can be famous too. All you gotta do is pick up your phone and just tweet some things, and you get likes, and then you're an influencer.
But here's the problem: you have fame, but no talent. Back in my day, you had to be talented to be famous. Now you don't have to be talented to be famous. You just have to be. Understand? You don't need anything to be famous. And like I said, celebrity for the sake of celebrity is very dangerous. And what it is because that person seems to be successful. We listen to them. You know, a lot of these stars get on these platforms and they talk, and they're actually dumb as hell. I mean, embarrassingly dumb as hell. But we don't get that. We're just like, hey, he's a millionaire.
Right.
Hey, he has 3 movies. And you don't realize a lot of these people ain't rich. A lot of these artists ain't rich. You know, the industry takes them, fucks them over.
And these are people you really shouldn't be listening to.
But you look up to them because, well...
Because they've accomplished something that appears to be impossible.
Yes. That is unattainable to you. So they have to be special. They're not special, darling. They are not special. Look, we can wrap this up real easy by saying that there's a big picture and a small picture involved with taking these things out. The small picture is that the teachers don't believe in the parents anymore, and they don't believe the students will learn the stuff or even take the time to use it correctly. The big picture is that if you want to say Illuminati, government, whatever you want to call it, this huge thing, is what they're doing is they're alleviating their competition, and they're picking and choosing who's successful, who's going to get this, who's going to get that, and they're also taking away your hard work. If you decide to work hard and do something and grow or make yourself rich, we're not. They take that right from you. Or even worse, you know, when you present your idea to your friends, like, hey, I got an idea for a product. Nigga, what the hell you doing making books? You know, we've already squashed it. You know, you've already been stepped on before you can even try to do something. So yes, it's major, but. Wrap it up now, big dog. What's your summation, my brother?
I think we got to fight now to maintain the future, because these people, what they're doing, they see that by taking things out of the school system, they can affect future generations and then change the course of the way things are going, making less revolutionaries and more docile people.
Yes.
And in doing so, they win. And if you don't know who they is, bitch, you in trouble. Go figure it out. Go crack some books. Yes, I said books. BOOKS, books. So now, that concludes this episode about the erasure of civics and history, world history, in public school curriculums. We'll talk to you soon.